return to your seats. Thank you. Take your seats. Guests, I demand your attention for a gentleman who's going to address you now. Very proud Northamptonian and editor of the distinguished Financial Times. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with warm applause, welcome Mr. Peter Whitehead.
Even though I'm trying to get away on many occasions, but yet here we are, back again, as on so many occasions. We still have family in the area, so there's still a good reason to come back. I was just thinking, this blooming austerity, I don't think I can stand much more of this. Here we are, enjoying the very fine things, but obviously not everyone is able to share that, so I think this is an excellent, worthy cause that we're all here for to support tonight. So, okay, where am I from? I should just say that I'm not actually the editor of the Financial Times. There are several people who edit bits of the Financial Times, and I edit one bit of it, which is the concern with executive appointments and things like that. But how did I get there? Well, I come from Blisworth, actually, just down the road. Where's that? Blisworth, splendid Blisworth. Grew up there, watched the Cobblers as a boy. They were in the 4th division then, just to say and after university, I worked for the Chronicle and Echo, and now for the FT, where I've been for nearly 26 years. So it can't be that bad a place to stay. But the Chronicle and Echo was absolutely a superb place to learn how to be a journalist, to learn the trade. And there were lots of young reporters there at the time doing daft things. They probably still are. And one of the things we enjoyed doing on a Saturday afternoon was we had to go out and cover sports matches, local football and cricket matches in the summer. And one of the games that we played on Saturday morning was to open a dictionary and just choose a word at random, and you had to get that word into the intro of your report. And a chap called Duncan Fuchs, I think he probably claimed the prize for the best one. It was an extremely hot day in the summer, and he was sent off to Kettering to cover a cricket match. And his first few words of his report were, "The batsman stood marinating at the crease." Full marks. The marketing department was quite amusing as well at the Chronicle and Echo at that time. They had a great idea. They said, let pensioners buy the paper for 10 pence a night. Because then it was every night, now it's only weekly, sadly. The cover price was about 35 pence at the time, so that was a big discount. But there were two problems with this, but it went ahead anyway, of course. One was that pensioners were already our most loyal and devoted readers, and they needed no incentive whatsoever to buy the paper. And the second was that we had no way of checking whether the applicants were pensioners anyway. So somebody had the bright idea of ringing up the Social Security office and asking if they could help. If we gave them a few names, would they be able to tell us whether they were pensioners or not? And they said, well, this is a bit irregular, but we could probably do it. How many are we talking about? And when they were told 11,000, then the phone went dead. And so it was the paper's most popular promotion ever, but a complete disaster. And I remember in 1980, when I was on the paper, I started on the paper in 1979 till about 1984-ish, 5-ish. And I remember one of the most bizarre events in the town's history, I think it's fair to say, certainly in recent history, was the release of a single, some of you might know it or have even got it in your record collections, 60 Miles by Road or Rail. Remember that? Yes, you can listen to it on YouTube actually. 60 Miles by Road or Rail is by a singer called Linda Jardim, she did have some proper hits with bands. But yeah, 60 Miles by Road or Rail. The B-side was exactly the same, except it had a slightly different start to it, and it was called Energy in Northampton. And this was released it was commissioned by the Northampton Development Corporation, which I doubt whether that still exists, although Northampton seems to be developing still at quite a rate. So well worth, I recommend you go and dig that one out. It is quite hysterical. So what am I actually going to talk about? I do have to get a bit serious now. I'm supposed to have a message. And I was given a brief by Adrian, who's done a fantastic job in organising and getting everybody else to help organise tonight. What I should say that if he had paid me to do this, I'd have stuck to that brief. But obviously, I have no function in saying what he wants me to say at all. So instead, I'm going to just tell you a few 3 or 4 short stories which I hope will build into a little bit of a message, because we ought to have a message. I thought I'd start by talking about the bin in our kitchen. I don't know whether you find the same, I'm sure you do, but you put the empty black bin liner into your bin, you turn around and the bin's full. And your bin is always full, whatever you do. So we had an idea. We get a second bin of 2 bins. They can't possibly, because they're always full as well. There's no way around it. Your bins will always be full. And just getting more doesn't really help very much. Another story, when my wife and I, my wife's sitting over at the table over there, when we started going out together in about 1984, in order to see her parents, who lived in Kent, near Sevenoaks, Tunbridge Way, we had to drive from Northamptonshire around or through London. The M25 wasn't finished at that stage. It was a long, slow, arduous journey because the roads were all full. So somebody had the great idea of building the M25, which was already being built there. And great idea. The unfortunate thing is that what happens? It's full too. We came round the M25 this morning on the way up here from Surrey, and yeah, sure enough, it's full. Somebody then had the idea, let's stick a couple more lanes on the side. Makes no difference, they're full too. Another little vignette. When I was small, our family holidays were spent on the North Norfolk coast, in Blakeney. I don't really know Blakeney. It's a lovely, lovely town. We went there because our next door neighbours in Blisworth had a caravan there. And it was a bustling little fishing and sailing port there. Even on weekdays, but it's not anymore. I don't know whether you've been to Blakeney or those sorts of little villages recently. Hardly anyone lives there now. There are about 790 odd people live in more than 400 houses in Blakeney now. In 1831, it had more than 1,000 people living in 215 houses. Now it's quiet because the houses are owned by people who live in Chelsea and they just pop up for the weekend. This is repeated all around our coast and in every sort of scenic area. And yet we're supposed to be having a housing crisis. All full, got to build more and more. You've certainly seen it happening around Northampton. Building goes on apace. So we keep building houses because there's massive demand, and we need to build because the demand is pushing up prices. These are sort of leading somewhere, I hope. Stable. One more, London School of Economics. They let me in, thankfully, in 1976 and they awarded me a law degree in 1979. I'd have probably gone to Northampton University if it had been in existence at the time. There was a university in Northampton in 1261, apparently, I'm sure you know this. But it only lasted for 4 years before Henry III dissolved it. I'm pleased to say the current one is doing a rather better job of hanging in there than that first effort at a university in Northampton. But LSE was a fantastic experience. I'm still close friends with half a dozen or more of LSE mates, a couple of professors now, one in Leeds where my older daughter is actually studying. But look what's happened to our universities. They were deemed not to be producing the right sort of workers for the modern age. But what was the solution? Don't look at what we actually need, just have more of them, let's have more. So Tony Blair set his goal of 50% of youngsters going to university. I'm not sure we quite ever hit that target, but we still have lots and lots of graduates being churned through the system. And yet we have that now, the highest levels of graduate unemployment, almost inevitably, on record. And employers still complaining about skills shortages. So what I want to do, draw these together. In all these cases, there's a perceived problem, there's an issue, but there doesn't seem to be any real attempt to understand it and solve it in any sort of rational way. The solution is simply, let's have more. And it either makes no difference at all, or it actually makes things, in some cases, a lot worse. For example, preparing young people for today's world of work is complex. Turning our universities into competing businesses at the same time as expecting them to grow madly and accommodate an enormous number of extra students was always going to be a very, very difficult and hopeful task. There was no real aim, there was no particular goal, no vision, no idea of what we really wanted to achieve, but just we want more students going through the system we've already got. Say housing. In central London, someone builds a huge block of flats. They all sell, but nobody moves in. There are several blocks where they've all been sold, but there's nobody living there because they're investments. So you don't let anybody tell you that we have a housing crisis and that only a massive increase in supply will bring down prices. The housing market doesn't work like that. You raise interest rates, and then you'll see how fast prices will fall. What we have is a housing finance crisis, maybe a population crisis, but just building more will have no effect whatsoever on either of those. Building more in order to bring down prices has never in the history of housing worked one iota. Ditto roads. If you want more traffic, build more roads. You could build a second M25, and just like our bin in our kitchen, it will still always be full. The roads are not the problem. And we got rid of that second bin in our kitchen, by the way, because the number of bins in our kitchen was not really the problem. The biggest problem of all at the moment is, of course, the economy. It has to grow, and it can only grow if we all have more. It relies on us all constantly wanting more. In that sense, it's an inherently depressing system because it relies on us all being in a permanent state of dissatisfaction. And that's how we live in this Blair Thatcher world of maxed out consumption. And I think it's time we started looking at our real issues and tried to solve them intelligently rather than simply resorting to more. And that we should actually use the word enough now and again. Let's say enough. And also when it comes to the economy, let's say the economy is not the end. The economy is the means by which we want to achieve something. And I don't think we have a vision or an aim or a goal of what we actually want to achieve. So I think that is sort of my message this evening. Having said that, the last thing I want to hear in about 4 minutes or less is anyone saying enough. Because I'm definitely hoping, actually, you'll say more, really, but because I'm going to sing you a song. It's not many after dinner speakers actually resort to this. It's probably a terrible idea, but you might say, why on earth is he doing this? Why break with protocol? You just get off, and then let's get on with having a chat. Because, well, the reason is I have a CD to sell, that's right. I had a CD to sell. Any CDs that I do sell tonight, and no, that might not be too many after you've heard the song. But the money will go to charity this evening. And my shop never closes, by the way, just stop me and buy one. If you want an instant review of it, let's ask somebody who's listened to it. Anybody? Oh look, there's somebody over there. What do you think of it? Do we get a thumbs up? It gets a thumbs up. It's my sister, actually. So this, I'll just do this song. It's sort of, the reason I'm going to do this song is because it fits with the message. And it goes back to an age when, and a situation where politics meant something. Politics wasn't just sort of a managerial consensus. There was somebody on the radio this morning talking about this sort of management level, that politics is management. Well, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is consensus. There's far too much consensus about politics, and the consensus is that it's just the economy and nothing else. So this was when there was not that consensus. It's from Civil Rights Movement America. It's a recent song written by a fantastic singer-songwriter called Laurie McKenna.